my area of New Zealand, Central Otago, does not have Manuka, so I've got no skin in this game. There's no advantage to me as a beekeeper to plug Manuka honey, or to talk it up, because it doesn't grow in my area. So my qualifications for talking about this is that I apprenticed in a Manuka area for 3 years as a trainee beekeeper. So I'm well aware of Manuka and how it functions. And when I was apprenticing under Alka in the mid-1980s, in the Coromandel, so we were very close to a little town called Whitianga, and very nice little town, by the way, on the beach. Very nice beaches, good fishing. Pretty, very pretty town. We had Manuka. That area is now a major producer of Manuka honey. When I was an apprentice, we had 4 people that used to buy Manuka honey off us. One of the problems with Manuka honey is that it's very, what's called thixotropic. Basically, it's like a gel. It's kind of like Vaseline more than honey. So the main honey that we were after when I was an apprentice was called bush honey. So things like Manuka, things of that sort of nature. Because this honey is so thick, we could uncap mixed frames with Manuka and Manuka in it, spin the frames out, the Manuka would get left behind, and then we would put that on our bees for the winter to feed them over the winter. Most beekeepers didn't want it in their honey boxes. We had one incident where we had a large commercial beekeeper who was based in Thames, who rang us up, and he was almost in tears, and he was like, I've got 12 apiaries I need to get out of the bush because Manuka's going to start flowering. Can you guys come over and help me get these hives out? So we dropped what we were doing and we went over there with the truck and the trailer, and we spent the day helping this guy get his honeybees out of these Manuka blocks before they started flowering. The thing that changed the game was there was a piece of equipment that was invented for heather honey. Heather honey has the same physical properties as Manuka honey when it comes to extracting. It's also very thixotropic, and it's like a gel. So the piece of equipment is called a honey pricker, and basically you slide a honey frame in between the honey pricker, and it's like little plastic prongs or needles, and it sort of jabs in, and then it agitates the Manuka honey, and it turns it into a liquid state that then you can put it into an extractor and extract it. That's what changed the game for Manuka. So what about the hype about it? I think that Manuka honey has very excellent medicinal properties. I think it's one of the worst tasting honeys that we have. It tastes like medicine. It's not a good table honey. We have far superior table honeys in New Zealand, but for its medicinal qualities, Manuka is fantastic. So on the packaging here, so this is from Aratiki. Aratiki is a big producer in the South Island. I've got 2 or 3 of their honeys. These are getting sent overseas to a friend that wants to make a YouTube video about them over in the United States. So I'm just about to send them, so I thought I'd better make this video before I didn't have them. So you can see on the packaging here, it's got two things on it. It's got MGO and a number, and it's got UMF and a number. So MGO is the antibiotic property, or one of them, the major one, in Manuka honey. It's called methyl glyoxal, and methyl glyoxal has fantastic antibacterial properties. All honeys have an amount of methyl glyoxal, but mostly it's just a trace amount. Manuka is unusual in that it has a very high concentration of methyl glyoxal. It's not the highest. The highest is actually cherry honey. Cherry honey has the highest methyl glyoxal of any honey. The only problem with cherry honey is it's incredibly bitter tasting. It's foul tasting stuff. I've got bees on a cherry block. I opened up one of my beehives one day and I was trying to figure out whether they were moving sugar syrup that I put on them to get them through the winter. Sorry, excuse me. Or whether they were processing honey. And so I stuck my little finger in the corner where they capped and stuck it in there and then stuck it on my tongue. Well, I had that taste in my mouth for half a day. I actually had to come home and frickin' brush my tongue with blasted toothpaste to get the darn taste out of my mouth. It was horrible. So it's unpalatable, and that bitter taste remains. If you try and blend it with another honey, the bitter, horrible taste remains. So even though it has the highest methyl glyoxal, it's just unpalatable. You can't eat it. Manuka has the highest methyl glyoxal of a palatable honey, but it's not a good table honey. It's very medicinal tasting. So most people just like take a teaspoon of it, or they'll put a bit in their coffee or something like that, you know. So yeah, it's not an everyday toast honey for most people, although some people quite like it. I mean, this is just my personal opinion, right? So some people quite like it, and you know, they'll have it on their toast. So I guess you just try it out for yourself, see what you think. The other thing, the UMF relates solely to Manuka honey, and it's unique Manuka factor. So there used to be a whole bunch of things like K factor and K notation and UMS, UMF, and so the industry streamlined it to one thing, so it wasn't confusing for customers overseas. Unique Manuka factor is like basically how much Manuka is in the Manuka that you're buying. So there are two areas in the North Island where it is solely Manuka. And there's about 5 beekeepers that have got bees on those areas. But for most Manuka producers in New Zealand, Manuka occurs in bush areas where there are other honeys available. So Kanuka is the main one that you get. They look very similar. The difference is that Manuka is a shrub, Kanuka is a tree. Their flowers look similar. If you look at the pollen under a microscope, it looks similar. UMF used to be determined by pollen counting. Then they realised that Kanuka pollen looks almost identical to Manuka pollen. The flowers look almost identical. The difference is that Kanuka has a higher hydrogen peroxide count, and it has a very low methyl glyoxal count, very low. In fact, I think it's lower than clover. So if you're selling a honey, you know, for its methyl glyoxal content, you want to be sure that you're selling Manuka honey for its high methyl glyoxal. So now what they actually do is DNA test it. They DNA test it to determine how much Manuka pollen is in the honey. and then it gets assigned a UMF number. So that's what that's all about. So on the hype front, yes, very good for its medicinal properties. They use it for treating burns. They use it for wound healing. It's used in hospitals. They actually soak bandages in Manuka honey, and it's done in a sterile environment, and they're available for the medical community to use in those circumstances. And it's very good for promoting healing. But for table honey, yeah, terrible tasting stuff. Since I'm slagging off Aratiki, I'll slag mine off next. So this is my honey. Now, I'm not a honey producer. I'm a wax producer. So most of my honey gets fed back to my honeybees. My honey is thyme honey. It is identical to these guys' honey. So we'll look at the colours and see the colours there are pretty much identical. So this is a Otago producer called Clear Skies. And they have bees very close to where I have bees, so almost identical. So I'm not trying to slag off Clear Skies or anything like that. I'm just talking about my honey. My personal opinion, the taste of my honey is ghastly. And yes, it's my honey. I think it tastes like sweetened Vicks Vapor Rub. That's what I think it tastes like. I keep aside about 40 kilograms and I jar them in jars like this. The next size up, it's about this big, not sure what that is in ounces, but I think it's 8 ounces. And I give those away. So I give about 50 of those away every year. And the people that I give those to, they're always asking me for it. They love it. I don't. I don't like my own honey. Thyme honey has some very good medicinal properties to it. A few years ago, it used to be added to some blends of Manuka honey because it also has a very good methyl glyoxal count. It's not as high as Manuka, but it also has very good antibacterial and wound healing properties. When I get cuts or scrapes, I put a little bit of my thyme honey on my cuts and scrapes. They heal up 3 times faster. So, but then they changed the law so that you now can't blend honeys. So you can't blend thyme honey with Manuka honey and call it a blended honey. It has to be monofloral to be called Manuka. So when you're talking about honey in New Zealand, this is what most people in New Zealand think you are talking about. So this comes from some characters that live about 100 kilometres away. So these guys are in Ettrick, in central Otago. I should get them to pay me for plugging their brand. So this is Wright's honey. Wright's is a family producer. Very good. Don't tell them I said that. I'll never admit to it in public. But when most people in New Zealand are thinking about honey, this is what they're thinking about. Not Wright's honey specifically, but the type of honey that's in here. So this is raw clover honey. New Zealanders prefer a sweeter honey, and this is what they go for. If you go to a supermarket, you'll find one row of the honey aisle is dedicated to clover. It has very low methyl glyoxal. It's a great table honey if you like a sweeter honey. If you're looking for something with a bit of flavour, then this stuff is really good. So this producer is based in Oxford, which is just out of Christchurch. He has bees in the beech forests around Nelson. And this is honeydew honey. Tastes like maple syrup. I think this is a great table honey. Way better than mine. The best honey that I think that we have in New Zealand, hopefully I got the right bottle. Looks like I got the right bottle. The best table honey that we have in New Zealand, in my opinion, is this stuff. I do not have Manuka I don't have Manuka growing in my area. I don't have Kamahi growing in my area. I wish I did have Kamahi growing in my area. This is my favourite honey. Way better than mine. Out of 10, I'd score this at a 10. I think this is one of the best table honeys that we have in New Zealand. Most people have never heard of Kamahi honey. It's a very common forest tree, but most people have never heard of it. Fantastic tasting honey. And you would think this is the honey we would be known for overseas, but it's not. Most people have never heard of it. But yeah, incredible honey. This is a very close second. This one is a rarer one. This is from a tree called Tarawiri. Tarawiri does not flower every year, so it only flowers every couple of years. It's fantastic tasting honey, but it's a bit of a rarer one. So you can only get it every couple of years. This year they had a good flowering year for the Tarawiri, so it was available. So I got a bottle of Aratiki's Tarawiri to send over to my friend in the States so he can try it, because I probably won't be able to get it next year. So there you go. So yeah, to sum up, is Manuka worth all the hype? On the medicinal front, I would say yes. As a table honey, it's your personal taste. Personally, I think it tastes horrible. Some people really like it, but I think my honey tastes horrible, and some people really, really like it. So there you go. There you have it. All right.